The college football show on the Coach T podcast, presented by Turner Sports Training, TST.
Go, go, go!
Ladies and gentlemen!
Yeah. Hey. You know what time it is? Yeah. You know what time it is? Some people are probably like, what time is it? You know what time it is.
It's showtime!
Alright.
Mook, guess what?
What's that?
We're back again.
We are
back again. We're back again, fans. People listening on the Coach T College Football Show with Mook. Mook, how are you doing, my friend?
I'm doing wonderful. If I was doing any better, I don't know what I'd do.
If you're doing any better, you'd be Nick Saban or Kirby Smart. You playing a national title game for a chance at like a $2 million bonus.
Yeah, that's not a bad gig if you can get it, right? You know,
you can get it. Yeah.
I wouldn't be doing any better than I would be if I was a quarterback who never played and made $1 million in NIL money and then got to go transfer somewhere else and
then got to relocate.
You know,
and probably sign another deal, a new deal.
That's right.
What a time to be alive, man. Clearly, fans out there, the most important game of the year is here. Tomorrow night, we will have the national title game between, let me see, officially number 3, Georgia, and number 1, Alabama. We will obviously dive deep into that game. That is the last game of the year, clearly, and the biggest one. And I mean, it's kind of the one we all expected to see, to be honest. But it is good. I actually like the fact that these teams have actually played before. I think it allows for both teams to maybe counterpunch with something a little bit different in this matchup, especially Georgia, knowing they got beat by 17 points last game. I think they have a couple tricks up their sleeve. We will talk about that. Before we do, Mook, I do want to touch on the New Year's Six Bowls that happened. Some really great games there. I'm probably just going to talk about the game that I thought was the most exciting. That was a Utah and Ohio State game. That was a wonderful matchup. I didn't think we would see the fireworks that we thought we would see. Right, mm-hmm. Ohio State had 4 or 5 starters out, and most of those guys on the offensive side. You're talking NFL talent with receivers that were out, and somehow, some way, I don't know how somehow, some way. I mean, I shouldn't be surprised, but Ohio State, they find guys that could be, starters, All-Americans, other places. They coming off the bench for Ohio State, like a Marvin Harrison Jr. Like the one kid I can never pronounce his name, but had the Ohio State record for receiving yards, and clearly their bowl record as well for receiving yards.
Receiving? I mean, that's nuts. Yeah. Yeah,
exactly. I mean, a career game, and that's the beauty too. And we hit on this before. When you have players that opt out, the easy talking point is the fact that these guys are out of the game. It kind of loses luster. But then the flip side of that is you give opportunities for other guys to showcase what they can do. Mm-hmm. And for Ohio State moving forward, it's Ohio State. They got a bunch of 5 stars. We all know that. But it's a preview to what you're going to see next year. And I think they're going to be right back there, competing for the Final Four spot. Utah had that game. They were up. They were definitely up at halftime. They were up 35-21 at halftime, 2-score lead going into the half. And then Ohio State did Ohio State things. They put their foot on the pedal, throwing the ball all around the yard. C.J. Stroud was absolutely phenomenal. The receiver we were talking about, Jackson Smith, I can never pronounce his last name, but he had an incredible game. What did he go for? Like you said, almost 350 yards, 3 touchdowns. So that was a wonderful game. Glad I got a chance to see it. Probably the most exciting bowl game we've had thus far. I'm hopeful that the Georgia-Alabama will be able to match that.
Yeah, I don't know if as far as just the sheer fireworks, that it can match that. I think that there will be big plays happening in this game, but in different ways. I think it's kind of crazy. Like you talk about with the young man with the 300 plus yards receiving, and earlier on in the year, I remember Kirk Herbstreit was talking to the trio of receivers, and they asked who's the most athletic, and Olave and
Wilson
were without even skipping a beat said this guy is. So it's like, and you look at it, Marvin Harrison Jr. You look at it, another thing too about that. I mean, not so much with the one young man, but with Harrison, not a lot of tape. Not a lot of tape on him, so that kind of opens up for some big games for some guys that you can't really game plan too much for either. So
yeah.
But that was a great game. That was such a fun game.
Wonderful game, and honestly, I'm proud of Utah. And going back to those two receivers for Ohio State, Jackson Smith and Marvin Harrison Jr. Between those two guys, over 20 catches, over 400 yards, and 6 touchdowns.
Ridiculous.
yeah, crazy. And CJ Stroud threw for almost 600 yards, 6 touchdowns and 1 interception. I mean, these quarterbacks, especially the young guys, I mean, they show flashes. CJ Stroud looks like a 35-year-old NFL veteran.
Yeah,
it's just they're so poised, man. That was great to see. For Utah, a wonderful year. Started off poorly, and they were even talking about that in this game.
Sure.
Just had an identity crisis a little bit. The first few weeks of the season, and then they got it rolling. They finished the year, 10-4 on the season, including that loss to Ohio State. But I mean, that was the reason why I picked this team to represent in the Pac-12, because I just feel like this program is really resilient, and year after year, their coaching staff, their head guy, their program, they're going to be able to compete, and that's what they showed they did. So even though it didn't end maybe the way they were hoping it would be, 10-4, nearly a top 10 finish. I mean, first in the Pac-12. You got to be excited for what this future can hold for Utah. Another matchup that I know people around here were really intrigued by was a Notre Dame Oklahoma State game, which was, if it wasn't for that Utah Ohio State game, this probably had the most fireworks.
Oh yeah,
you're looking at Notre Dame that was, again, halftime leads. Notre Dame had a 14-point lead going into half, and then second half got shut down. Got outscored 23-7 in the second half. They lose 37-35. That was a wonderful game. And again, another team that we've raved about all year that stepped up when they needed most. Spencer Sanders, quarterback for Oklahoma State, had a phenomenal game. 371 yards, 4 passing touchdowns. Ran the ball well when he needed it. Probably had another 50 to 75 rushing yards. And again, that was just a wonderful game. I don't think that's an indication of what you will get from Marcus Freeman in terms of, the team collapsing in the second half of the game. It's tough, a new head coach, first game like that against a top 10 opponent, essentially. Or they are a top 10 opponent, number 9, Oklahoma State. So you knew that was going to be a battle, and you knew Mike Gundy is going to have something up his sleeve, a guy that is the complete opposite of Marcus Freeman. And he's a veteran in the game when it comes to being a head coach. So that was a wonderful game. You have any takeaways from that matchup?
No, I mean, it was a little bit, especially, in this area with all the Notre Dame fans. I mean, it was a pretty grim, a lot of text messages going around with, some of my friends about that game. I didn't expect to see that happen. Not like that, but I mean, I think that if anything, I think you should talk more about what Oklahoma State did than Notre Dame collapsing, to be honest with you. I think it really nice cherry on the top of this Oklahoma State season that they really had a special season, one like they don't really have very often in Stillwater. And I mean, you think about it, and they're a Baylor loss away from who knows what. We wouldn't have even seen Cincinnati in the in the tournament. So man, I think you just tip your cap to Oklahoma State in many ways. And you know what? Actually, there's actually something I heard about Mike Gundy that another little tip of the cap to him. One of his offensive linemen, and this being the Nebraska guy here, he's transferring to Nebraska. And
another transfer for your Cornhuskers. Yeah, and they're getting a couple guys.
Yeah, he committed to him. Mm-hmm. Mike Gundy allowed him to go visit in December So like they knew he was going. I guess he was a starter coming in, and he was injured, so he kind of lost his spot. So he came in and out. But like he basically said, like Mike Gundy went above and beyond for him.
Yeah.
To find him a landing spot, and and helped him out with that. So man,
hats off to Gundy. Tip my hat to him.
That's a dude right there, man. That's definitely hats off.
Yeah, one of my favorite coaches, man. He has been for a while, and Mr. Mullet, he got it done, man. He said he was a man. He said he's 40 years ago, and he's still showing that he's a true man, especially with a gesture like that to that young man that, he knew his time was up at Oklahoma State, and they said, hey, we can go our separate ways. We'll help you find a spot that works for you.
Yep.
Help you find a spot that works for you. That's the best place for you. So I'm happy for that young man. And again, that shows what type of person Mike Gundy is. Let's without further ado, Mook, let's talk about this national title game. This is what the people are here for. This is what we're here for. Again, the biggest game of the year and the matchup that, as the season progressed, we kind of assumed this was what it would be. We didn't really know how it would shake out. We didn't know if Alabama, especially after that loss to Texas A&M, would they truly be able to bounce back? Would all the chips fall where they need to be for them to be able to be there? Georgia has been that team and was that team all year, was number one all season. Then they had the late fall to Alabama. You knew they would stay in the Final Four in those rankings, but you didn't know where they would be. Would they be number 2? Would they be number 3? Would they possibly be number 4? We didn't know how it would shake out the last week of the season. Ended up being number 3. A lot of people thought Georgia, and myself included, will have some trouble with Michigan, and they wiped any doubts away early. Alabama did the same thing with Cincinnati, and look, SEC is going to win either way. With this matchup, right? No way that an SEC does not win a title this year. And let's be honest, these are the best 2 teams this season. They have been all year. I try to convince myself that maybe Michigan would make a play against Georgia. Maybe Cincinnati would be able to hold on strong. But again, we look up and we even said it. Would we be surprised that both those teams have blowout wins and they're here in the national title game for a rematch? No. And this is where we are. So without further ado, let's talk about this game, talk about this matchup, just talking about the opening odds or where the odds are now in terms of the line for any fans out there that are interested in this. The number started at 2.5. It rose to 3, and now it's back down to 2.5. And surprisingly, that 2.5 goes to Georgia. Georgia's a favorite here. I think this is only the 6th, maybe the 7th time, less than 10 times where Nick Saban has been a underdog at Alabama. And this is against one of his former assistants, which he has never lost to unless your name is Jimbo Fisher. He's going against Kirby Smart here, of course. 52.5 is the over under. Let me get some. I got a lot of trends here, so let me get to them. See if anything actually matches up. Sorry. Okay, perfect. These are the simple ones. So Georgia, wow, in their last 18 games, they have won 17 of them. The only loss being to Alabama, of course. Alabama, in their last 5 games, they won them all. In their last 5 games against Georgia, they've won them all. The total has gone over in 9 of Georgia's last 10 games when they play Alabama. So when these teams play, they score points. A little more into the trends. Again, this is only game, so we can dive a little bit deeper here. Georgia, in their last 7 games against Alabama, they're 0-7. And let me see here. The total has gone over in 4 of Georgia's last 5 games when they play on a Monday. That's random. But the total has gone under in 5 of Georgia's last 7 games when they play in January. If you guys are into this stuff, I mean, maybe it holds merit, maybe it doesn't, but take it for what it's worth. The total has gone under in 4 of Alabama's last 6 games overall. However, the total has, we read that stat, 9 of the last 10 against Georgia have gone over. Let me see this. Alabama, in their last 6 games, when they are underdogs, this is important, they are 5-1 against the spread. And let me see anything else that is of importance. I don't really think. Okay, another total. Total has gone over in 11 of Alabama's last 15 games in January. So, look, when it comes to these stats and trends, you can find any and everything. If you want something to to really sell your point, you can definitely find a stat that supports it. At the end of the day, this is a national title game. We talked about it before. You can throw out a lot of the stats, a lot of the trends, a lot of the yada yada, whatever you want. These are the best two teams playing under the lights. We will see how these 18 to 22-year-olds respond. Good thing about it is that both these teams have a lot of players and coaches that have been here before. So I'm intrigued to see how this goes. And in terms of storyline, Mook, I know I'm talking a lot, but I feel like there's a lot of information to get. Alabama, they have won 3 of the last 6 college football championships, but they have yet to repeat as champions in the playoff era. So that's key. Never repeated in the playoff era. Let me see here. News and notes for Georgia. Georgia's quarterback, Stetson Bennett. Always want to say Benson. Stetson Bennett. He had a really good finish to the season. He averages 325 passing yards his last 2 starts. And he actually didn't throw for more than 255 yards in the previous 8 appearances. So his last 2 games, he's been really hot. He has thrown for 10 touchdowns in his last 3 games, and 3 of those actually came against Alabama in the SEC championship game. Georgia's defense was a problem there. They let up 41 points to Alabama in that SEC title game, which is nearly 6 times their season average. So they're definitely going to want to clean that up, and I think they'll have an answer for that. For Alabama, we all know the Heisman Trophy winner, Bryce Young, is at the helm for them, quarterback. But they also have a really good running game as well. More than 200 rushing yards against Cincinnati came from Brian Robinson Jr., who has topped the 100-yard plateau just twice in his previous 7 games. So he's a consistent runner, but hasn't really hit that 100 mark. But he exploded against Cincinnati. So I think that will somewhat carry on in this matchup. And we know what Alabama's pass game can do and what they can do on offense as a whole. So again, a lot of information, a lot of talking out of me. Mook, it's your turn to talk. The floor is yours.
So this game is kind of, when you look at this game and the scope of how the season went, you look at how dominant Georgia was all season long, except for, obviously the week 1 with Clemson. We didn't know what that was yet with Clemson or anything else. Alabama this year, at times, while we knew they had the talent, I mean, they've had some issues. I mean, they had a rough, half of Florida. They struggled with LSU. They struggled with Arkansas. They should have probably lost to Auburn, and they did lose to A&M. So the way that they put it down on Georgia in the SEC championship game is puzzling.
Very surprising.
And the things that Georgia failed at were even more surprising, to give up those big plays, those dynamic plays in the passing game. I mean, they pretty much, Bryce Young, like, if there was any doubt if he was going to win it, he silenced it all, the Heisman in that game. I mean, 420 some odd yards passing, I believe. Man, the fact that they had such a hard time getting to Bryce Young is crazy to me, because Cincinnati got to him, and we know, because we've seen it all year, Georgia is a better defense, and that's not a knock on Cincinnati. I think Cincinnati proved enough that they, you shouldn't poo-poo them; they belonged. But right. Georgia didn't get to Bryce Young. And Cincinnati did. So for their fate to change in this game, they're going to have to. They're going to have to get to him. Their offensive line is going to have to play much better than it did the last time. And Stetson Bennett's going to have to be as good as he was last game. And was his best game against Michigan. So I think there's a lot of things that are going to be turned up on its head from the last time. Obviously, Alabama without Mechie this time, They look different how they use Jameson Williams right now. It doesn't look the same. Am I right? Do you see that? I mean, to me, it doesn't seem like his role is the same or his opportunities are the same. So I think they're going to kind of change up their game plan a little bit, because I don't think they can do what they did last time.
No, and so that begs a question for me, and I guess I have a question for you. You know, we would have to put a hat on if you're a Georgia fan, if you're an Alabama fan. We'll start with Georgia. What is the way, in your opinion, Mook, how do they win this matchup? Because for me, you hit on it a little bit, they have to switch up something, right? One thing I think they can do, and they proved that they can do against Alabama last time, was the fact that, you know, they controlled the ball pretty well, ironically, which is surprising when you have a 17-point loss. But they actually held the ball for nearly 35 minutes of the game, and they had 30 first downs. So Georgia has shown against Alabama on film, on the actual field, that they can control the ball control. It's just the fact that they cannot, clearly in any football game, especially against Alabama, you can't let up those huge chunk explosive plays to Alabama, because that's when they just get juiced up, they get fired up, and then you start to realize, like, wow, we are going against Alabama and Nick Saban. I mean, it's kind of what they do. So if you can limit those huge plays, and I think if Georgia can play a little ball control, but then also on the flip side of that, hit a couple explosive when they need to, maybe unexpectedly. I think they need a couple trick plays. I think they need to be able to utilize, obviously, the running game, the pass game. I think they honestly need to be a little more pass first. Maybe go a little empty, maybe go a little tempo, switch it up, then go a little heavy, then start using the pound the run game. I think they got to be able to switch things up. If they go into the game, which I don't assume they do, especially not with a coach like Kirby Smart. If they go in the game with the same game plan, they're going to get the same result. But again, if they can control the ball, hit explosives when they need to, switch up formations, tempo, all those things, I think they have a realistic shot to win a national title, which would be their first one in 41 years. What are your thoughts on Georgia doing something different?
And the thing is, I think they're going to have to move Stetson Bennett around a little bit, let him use his legs to create a little bit. I think that's going to be something they're going to need. And the one thing that even for several years now that Alabama has struggled with is mobile quarterbacks. So I think that if you get some good rollouts and some maybe some RPO stuff, things of that nature. I mean, obviously you don't want to just take off running with them, because you can't live that way against Alabama. But he needs to make a couple plays with his legs, and I think they need to run the ball enough where they can get some play action in there where he can get those kind of over the top big chunk plays as well.
To that point, Mook, I'm sorry to cut you off. To that point, Stetson Bennett, he's averaging, it's surprising, I didn't know this, he's averaging nearly 6 yards a carry. He doesn't run the ball a lot, but when he does, I mean, he averages good amount. So just kind of getting him on the move, having run pass options on the move in real time, I think that is something that they can utilize. I agree.
Yeah, and I think last week was kind of my selling point. I always kind of wondered what happened with was it JT Daniels or JD Daniels?
Daniels.
Yeah, why wasn't he the guy earlier on? But I think that after seeing how Stetson Bennett played against Michigan, I really he opened my eyes to how good a player he is. I like him.
I like him a lot, Mook, and I always feel like I'm cutting you off, but you bring up some really good points. Yeah, you bring up some really good points because JT Daniels was a 4 or 5 star quarterback, and Stetson Bennett was a former walk-on. Right. So it shows the type of work ethic, and it shows the fact that if he's playing like this, he clearly had opportunities to play elsewhere, maybe at a smaller school, and he chose the opportunity to walk on at Georgia and prove himself. And I love players like that. I got a shout out to my former college roommate, Trey Burgess, did the same thing at running back in Indiana. Yeah. Came in, no scholarship, nothing proven. I know how hard it is and how much behind the 8 ball you are as a walk-on. because those coaches, they're recruiting players, and the players they offer scholarships, they want those to be the players that pan out, right? Because they're giving all the money to those players. So they feel like this player should be really good for us. So when you have a walk-on that proves they are better than a scholarship guys, that says a lot. And that's Bennett kid. He also was a young man that doesn't have social media. Like I heard him on an interview. He's like, hey, what they were saying, hey, how do you feel about when people, talk about, you and your performances and maybe what you could do better? He said, look, I don't have social media. I try not to let that stuff get to me. I have the same focus. I have the same mentality day in and day out. I just get work done. And like, when I heard that, to me, I love a quarterback like that. I love a player like that. And I could see why he is the, unsung leader of this program. So I just wanted to say that, man, before we continue.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta like that the story of where he came from, and and how he's doing it. You gotta help me out here for a second. The tight end at Georgia's freshman,
the rookie, yeah,
the true freshman.
Bowers. He is a monster.
If win.
Brock Bowers.
This kid looks like an NFL player right now.
Yeah, he 6'4", 230 from Napa, California. He leads them in receiving by a long mark. I mean, he leads them. He has almost double what any other receiver has for Georgia. Almost 900 yards, 12 touchdowns on the year, averages 16 yards a catch. Wow,
he's unbelievable. I think that for them to win the game, I think he's gonna be the kind of guy that's going to be a difference maker in the game for them to win. So I mean, he's so impressive. I mean, and to think that he's a true freshman is is mind boggling. But overall, my feeling overall is that Georgia doesn't have history on their side with Alabama. I mean, they haven't won since 2007. I think it kind of just, to me, feels like that they need some things to happen early in their favor to make them believe that they can win this game. To make Kirby Smart believe he can beat Nick Saban. So I kind of feel like they need something, a pick six, a punt return, something big, to kind of sway some things and maybe get some momentum early, and then they can kind of, feed off of it. And I think that, certainly one of the things that would be pretty big for them would be getting to the Alabama quarterback. And another thing too is they were like the number 3 team in the country in tackles for loss. They only had like 2 or 3 tackles for loss in the whole game against Alabama. So there were so many things that were
uncharacteristic for Georgia.
Yeah. And you said, well, of course, because they're playing Alabama. But Alabama wasn't that good against other teams that weren't as good as Georgia this year. So I don't know.
That's what makes it tough, Mook.
Yeah, it does. It certainly does.
Clearly, when it mattered most, Alabama did what they needed to do, and they rose to the occasion, and Georgia faltered when it mattered the most. And that was a little bit why I did pick Michigan in the Final Four matchup against Georgia, because I said, look, when Michigan played their rival, their counterpart, which was Ohio State, they smacked them up. And then when Georgia played theirs, Alabama, they got beat down. So I was feeling like, hey, like when the bright light came on, one of these teams stepped up when it needed to, and the other one didn't. And looking back at that matchup with Georgia and Alabama in the SEC title game, Georgia actually got off to a 10-0 start. So, they kicked the field goal in the first quarter, and then, Stetson Bennett, he threw a touchdown pass. So they were up 10 points before Alabama knew what hit them. But then Alabama did what Alabama did. Ended up scoring what did they score? 17 points straight at that point. So you talk about it. Georgia needs something early, and they got something early last game in the SEC title matchup. They just got to be able to to keep firing and build on that early momentum if they're able to get it, because we all know Alabama is going to do something and they're going to make a play eventually. You're never going to be able to just completely shut them down. So you got to pile it on early because once that mudslide happens with Alabama and they get you on your heels and they start doing Alabama things, it is tough to come back for that. We see that, right? Georgia was dominant all year, and then they ran into this buzzsaw, which was Alabama. All right, let's flip hats now. What will it take for Alabama to win another national title against Georgia in this matchup?
I think that it's gonna, if they can repeat, some of the ways that they move the ball down the field. And obviously, again, they won't have, Mechie in the game, and he had 6 catches, I think, for 97 yards and a touchdown before he went down in that game. So somebody else is going to kind of have to step up. Like I kind of mentioned before, that the role of Jameson Williams is kind of a little bit different. I think Robinson's going to have to find a way to run the ball a little bit. I don't think that they can. I don't believe that they're going to score 41 points again. I don't think that's happening.
No.
So they have to find a little bit different ways to do it. Like you said, Robinson's only ran for 100 yards twice this year.
I was surprised by that, Mook.
Yeah, that is kind of a weird step.
Really surprised by that.
But this isn't the old Tide offense that it used to be, either. So,
but also they're up so much. He only plays first half a lot of times.
Yeah, there's that too. So I think like defensively, they need to just keep playing better. They need their defensive line needs to do what they did against Georgia's offensive line, which is crazy again, because now flipping back to the Michigan game, how like ordinary they made, like Aiden Hutchinson look, but I guess to that point, when you see guys like Will Anderson and, whatever week in, week out in the SEC, maybe a guy like Aiden Hutchinson isn't so scary, but they have to, the defensive line for Alabama needs to try to get to Stetson Bennett. They need to shut down the run game.
Yeah.
And just, basically get another play, get a forced turnover, get a strip sack, those types of things, I think that are going to be what's, will help them.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's what hurt Georgia last game when they matched up, was that excuse me, Stetson Benson, had a great stat line, had a pretty good game, but what really hurt them and what really, muddied the waters when it came to his stat line was the 2 interceptions he had. Yeah. Those were really game-changing plays. I think Alabama does that. I think they'll walk away with this. You cannot give them extra possessions. You cannot do that. And also, I think Alabama did a really good job last matchup of limiting the run. Georgia's top rusher in that matchup had 38 yards. The best runner they had averaged 3.9 yards a carry. And that rusher was what's his name? Gosh, Zamir White. High recruit there. Only had 27 rushing yards. So, if they're able to limit the rush yards for Georgia, they're able to get some turnovers, some fumbles, some interceptions, able to make a big play on special teams, which they have shown they can do that. If they're able to spread the ball around, which they also have shown they can do that, because Alabama has more weapons than Georgia. They really do. Georgia's top receiving threat is Bauer as their tight end. He, again, doubles any other receiver they have in total yards and touchdowns. So he's their clear-cut number one guy. But for Alabama, they have Jameson Williams, right? Mechie's out, but they also have Bolden, who scored last matchup, last game, Slade Bolden. They have Billingsley, the tight end. They clearly have a Robinson at the running back spot, who was also pretty good, out of the backfield. So that is a tough part for Georgia. And I think if Alabama was able to, like we said, run the ball efficiently, be able to spread the ball around, give a lot of guys different touches, not really give Georgia any one or two guys to key on. They're able to cause some turnovers, and they're able to get explosives, which they were able to get last matchup. I hate to say it, but I think Alabama can walk away with this. And I want Georgia to make this game. I really do. But I just think if Alabama does those things, that's their recipe. That's their formula to win another national title. And ironically enough, and surprisingly enough, at least to me, this will be their first repeat national title if they get that done in the playoff era. So, yeah, I'm intrigued, of course, to see how this game unfolds.
Yeah.
What other questions do you have about this game, or any points you want to make?
No, I mean, it's just to me overall, that my overall feeling on this is just the fact is that does Georgia believe they can win this football game? I think that they have the talent to do it. I think they've looked the part most of the year, all the year, pretty much. I think they've been the better team, but I just
it feels like little brother. It feels like little brother against big brother.
Psyche, man. They're yeah. I mean, it's how do you get, if you're Kirby Smart, Nick Saban out of your head? How does Georgia get that defeat out of their head? And that's to me the key. If they go out there and they believe that they can win this football game, and they play mistake-free football, then I think they have every chance to win it. I doubt it. I think earlier in the year, I certainly thought Georgia was the team to beat in this one. And even down Mechie and with the way that Alabama's looked defensively at times this year, I just feel like I'm going to double down in this one with Saban. I know that he hasn't repeated. Alabama hasn't repeated. But, I mean, this will be like, if he wins, number 7 at Bama? So it's more like happenstance that they haven't repeated. Or the fact that they're even, well, they haven't repeated ever, So, I mean, that line's kind of funny to me too, but I and take this with a grain of salt. I've been absolutely horrible in my bull picks. So whatever happens, it's going to be probably the opposite of what I said. Yeah.
All right. So with this, Mook, you talk about Nick Saban and his national titles. Yes, he does have 6.
Yeah.
Which is incredible. I was actually trying to look up the bonuses these coaches would get if they won. I think Nick Saban already has like over 500,000 in bonuses just for making the national title game and winning the Final Four game and all that. I think Kirby Smart's at like 350,000, but chump change to those guys, I guess. With Nick Saban, he has won 6 national titles, and wait, is it 6 or 7?
6 at Bama, 7
6
overall?
at Bama, 7 total. Yes, because 2003 was at LSU. I remember that. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Amazing. So back to even more so.
Yeah.
Out of his 7 national titles, only 2 of them have come on an even year. We are clearly officially in 2022. He won a national title in 2003, 2009, 2011, 2012, his first even year, 2015, 2017, and then 2020. So I don't know if you're a Georgia fan, if you're rooting for Georgia, maybe that plays a factor in it. I'm not a big believer in it, but it was a little trend and something I noticed. It's going to be tough for Georgia to win this game. It will be. But I'm not counting them out. I'm not. And what I don't necessarily love, though, about Georgia is the fact that they are the favorites, and the fact that even though they lost last game, you would think the pressure would, quote unquote, be off of them. But I think even more pressure is on them this game and this matchup, because again, they are the favorites. A lot of people say, quote unquote, it's hard to beat a team twice in a season. Georgia has that pressure of having to not lose twice to Alabama. You got Kirby Smart, clearly, a branch off of the tree that is Nick Saban's coaching tree. He's got the weight of, Jimbo Fisher being the only former coach under Nick Saban that has beat him. So is he going to fall into, the lost pile with all the other coaches? With Alabama, when they're underdogs, and what was that stat? When they're underdogs, I just had this, man. Here it is. Alabama has won outright in 5 of their last 6 games when they're the underdogs. So now Georgia again has the pressure of, yeah, we're the favorites, but we're the favorites that feel like underdogs against a team that is actually the underdogs, because that team that's the underdogs, which is Alabama, they normally win those games outright. So I think a lot of pressure is put up on Georgia, and quite frankly, if they win this matchup, this will be a win for the ages, because all those things are going against Georgia, and if they're able to somehow pull this off, which I don't think will be miraculous. Now, like we talk about Alabama, we talk like, I mean, Georgia is a good team. They're a good program. Yeah, they haven't won it in 41 years, and you know they got smacked last time these two teams played. But I mean, anything can happen when it's a 1-game deal. So, but I just feel like Georgia has a lot of weight on their shoulders, and I think Alabama, yeah, they have pressure because they're Alabama and they're always expected to win, but they're the underdogs. They already beat this team. Like, I just feel like Georgia has way more weight on their shoulders. Am I wrong for that?
No, I agree with you. There's definitely something to it. I mean, you can't go as long as they have without beating Alabama and there not being that extra pressure on their back. You can't, for a place that is so rich in tradition, and it's considered a blue blood, but you figure they really haven't won a title in 41 years. I mean, that's like Herschel Walker, right? So I mean, yeah, it's Georgia has a lot, on their plate in this one, but on the other side of it, a victory here would be as big as it'd probably be the biggest thing that ever happened in the state of Georgia ever. No, ever. But right. It would be crazy. Athens would be insane. And you know what? I mean, we're sitting here, and I'm telling you that I don't know if they believe they can win. Bottom line is, they are a damn good football team, and I really think this is going to be a good football game. It's not going to be what it was last time. They just can't make mistakes in it. That's it. They can't make mistakes. If they can play, an error-free game or close to, and cause some turmoil on the other side, then I certainly could see a scenario where they are the ones that run away with the game. Because like I said, Alabama hasn't looked great all the time this year. No, but and I hate to say, well, they're Alabama, but I mean, look,
they are Alabama.
They are, man. You got Nick Saban, and you got Bill O'Brien. He's gonna have
Doug Marrone.
Yeah,
O-line coach. Like, I mean, Bill O'Brien. He's interviewing for jobs. He's kind of his could be his going out party. To kind of showcase what he still has.
Kind of what always happens. You get who's the next hottest offensive coordinator that doesn't have a job currently. Okay,
you're talking about one and done in college sports. It's the Alabama offensive coordinator.
Yeah,
that's right. One and done.
Yeah, so I mean, while we talk about Nick Saban being great, part of him being great is the fact that that he's able to bring in these people and say, "Hey, look, come over here. I'll rebuild you. You'll win a national title, and then you'll go get a job, and then we'll bring in the next guy, and then you can go to the next job in the SEC, and then I'll play against you." Beat you.
Yeah. You just gotta owe me. That's what they owe them. That's what it is, Mook. That's the payback. Hey, I'll get you this job. I'll get you this gig. I'll get you millions. Just when you play me, you can't beat me. How about that?
Bill, what? I tell you what, come over here. We'll win a national title, and then I'm gonna kick the crap out of you when you go to Vanderbilt.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
How about that?
Right. Just some keynotes for this game. I think I failed to mention this game is 8:00 Eastern. And this game will actually be held at Lucas Oil Stadium, the Indianapolis Colts, their home field. And again, we talk about the pressure with Georgia. Alabama if they end up actually officially being an underdog in this game, which I think they will be, this will only be the third time since 2009 that Alabama has been an underdog. Guess when the other last two times happened? I guess I would say this. Who were the other two? Who were their opponent the other two times that Alabama was an underdog? Why don't you take a wild guess?
Give me that stat line one more time.
Okay, yes. So Alabama, if they close as an underdog, which I assume they will, this will be only the third time since 2009 that they have been an underdog. The other two times were against the same opponent. Who was that opponent? Shouldn't have to look far, Mook.
Auburn.
Georgia.
Georgia. Oh, okay. All right.
Georgia.
Oh, yeah.
Georgia.
Georgia. They've been the dog against Georgia twice. Yeah, okay.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So maybe third time's a charm for Georgia. Yeah. I don't know. Let's do this, Mook. We have talked long enough. Let's actually make our picks. And with our picks, let's actually make, on top of our picks, let's make our picks for the player of the game. Do they call it the player of the game? I don't know if there's actual name for the award, but the MVP for the matchup. So we'll pick the winner and we'll pick the MVP of the game, who we assume, who we're guessing it will be. Would you like to start, or would you like me to go?
Go ahead.
Ooh, put the pressure on me. Okay. Yes. So I look at Georgia again. I see a team that has a lot of pressure, and I think if you're Georgia, you're a player of Georgia, you're a fan of Georgia, you're a coach of Georgia, this is actually the position you want to be in. You want the pressure. If you're going to win, if you're going to win big, win the national title, you want to slay the big giant. You want to slay Goliath, and this is their opportunity to do it. And I think with the fact that they were the number one team all season, had one little slip up, and now that was a mighty costly slip up, but it was a slip up that still led them to being in the Final Four and have an opportunity to play for a national title. And I think they would want to redeem the loss that they had to Alabama. They want to showcase to the world that was a fluke. That was not our best performance. Hey, let's show you our best performance. We'd rather show you than tell you about it. And this is their opportunity. But with everything said, just the way it goes, with all the pressure that is on Alabama or is on Georgia, and the fact that Alabama, when they are underdogs, they win. When they're favorites, they win. When Nick Saban goes against his former assistants, they somehow find a way to win. So yes, for me, Georgia proved that they are really no match for Alabama. So for me, I got the Crimson Tide winning for the first time in the playoff era for them, going back to back and winning this national title, Mook. And my MVP, I'm actually going to go a little off the beaten path. It's easy to go Bryce Young, but you know what? I think they found a way to pound the ball. Actually, you know what? I was going to go with Robinson, but I got to go with my guy, man. I've been riding him all year. I got to go with my guy, Jameson Williams. I think he will be the MVP of this matchup. He went for 7 catches, 184 yards, and 2 touchdowns last game. I think he tops that. I think he goes over 200 yards. He has 3 touchdowns, and Jameson Williams is my MVP for the national title game. And I have Alabama winning this matchup, repeating as champions.
All right. So I kind of already, let the cat out of the bag. I don't know that Georgia believes they can win this football game, and I don't believe they can win it if they don't believe they can win it. So I do like Alabama in this game. I think it's going to be a very good football game. I think this is going to be a hard-hitting, fast, flying around, big plays happening, but not necessarily, meaning big, over the top throws with wide open receivers. And so I think that they're going to lock down a lot better this time. It was so uncharacteristic. The way that, the Georgia defense gave up some of those pass plays, but I'm going to say in a tight ball game, Will Anderson gets a strip sack, scoop and score.
Ooh, I like this.
That's gonna be the difference in the game.
I like this.
And Nick Saban's gonna roll Tide onto his 7th title and
number 8, right?
There, yeah, 8, yeah, 7th at Bama.
7th at Bama, yeah.
So I am going to take the Alabama Crimson Tide as our
man. Oh man. There's some people out there that are like, look at Mook, look at Coach T. I mean, of course they pick Alabama.
But there's only one game at a time.
Exactly. And honestly, you know what? Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that was a shot at Scoop because I know he's gonna be saying the same thing. He hates Alabama. He hates Alabama. So, but Scoot, it's hard to go against him. We laid out all the factors. We laid out the ways where Georgia, we feel personally, where Georgia could actually win this matchup. And truth be told, I would not be surprised if they won the game. Georgia, I'm speaking about. Yeah. I don't think anyone should be surprised if Georgia wins this matchup. But if I'm making a pick, I'm looking at the stats, I'm looking at just the momentum, I'm looking at who has the pressure, I'm looking at the matchups, I'm looking at the previous game, I'm looking at, just how these teams have fared recently. And I'm looking at the coaching matchup. I mean, come on. It's hard for anyone to go against Alabama in this matchup. And this is the fact that they're underdogs. I mean, they're playing with house money, in my opinion. I think Georgia, again, has all the pressure. So I'm going with Alabama. Mook, you're going with Alabama. And at the end of the day, this is going to be a wonderful matchup. I don't know where and when or how I'm going to be watching this game, but I'll find somewhere to watch this game, and I'll be locked in from start to finish. Let me ask you, Mook, how will you be watching this game in terms of the ESPN telecast or the broadcast? Will you watch the standard broadcast? Will you watch all 22? Will you watch kind of flip between some of the Georgia side, the Alabama side? I mean, just the football nerd me really likes all 22. 22.
But, yeah, but I think for the national tie, it just depends on the feel. I like to hear the broadcasters and the pan, out in the crowd and, watch, Brent Musburger fall all over, the Alabama, AJ McCarron's girlfriend and, things like that. I mean, the things that make football, the best television sport.
Yeah.
Hey, here's I don't know if there's a stat for this, but what is Alabama or Georgia's record in games played in Indiana, or have they ever played in Indiana? So
that is a great question. It would take me too long to try to find that.
Yeah, I don't know. I just I mean, have they ever played in Indiana?
But have they ever? That's true. That's true.
Just, I mean,
that's true.
It's just
I will find that out. That's intriguing. Yeah, I mean, look, at the end of the day, these boys from the South, they had to come up north to the Midwest to actually finish the season. So that should tell you something, man. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I actually like to watch the telecast. I don't know what it's called, but it's where they show the tight shot. The behind the offensive lineman, behind the quarterback. Then they also on the same screen show you the standard TV version of the wide shot from the sideline, and then they kind of give you the stats at the bottom. I don't know what version of that is for ESPN, but I really like that. I think that's really cool, and you still get the announcers, the standard announcers commentating about the game. So I think that's pretty cool. Mook, it's 8:58. That will wrap it up for us. This will not be our last show, and this is me telling you for the first time, Mook, but we will actually do a recap of this game once it ends next week, and just a recap of the season. So I'm looking forward to that. Before we wrap it up for this week's show, do you have anything you want to say to the people, to the fans out there?
No, just enjoy it. It's going to be, it's a big deal. Like the semifinal games have traditionally not been great, but the championship game, I think we're going to get a good one, and it's who we all thought we're going to see. So let's see it. Don't worry. Don't think about what happened in that first game. That doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean anything. Mm-hmm. And just like you said, I know we're both picking Alabama, but that doesn't mean that I don't think Georgia can win this game. I mean, like I said, Georgia is very, very good. Georgia has the players to win this game. I just, they just have to do it. That's it.
You got to pick some team, fans, okay? We got to pick a team. So that's what we went with. But yeah, I agree with you. This is going to be a wonderful game. I don't think it will resemble anything like the first matchup in the SEC title game. I think it'll be much closer, and I think Georgia will put up a really good fight. And I'm not only hopeful that will happen, but I actually expect them to put up a really good fight. I just know how coaches are, especially coaches at that level and players at that level. So I'm excited. Fans, please enjoy it. You can tweet at us, you can message us, let us know your thoughts, whatever it may be. Hopefully you listen to this from front to back. And if this helps you and intrigues you any more about this game and this matchup, maybe we gave you a nugget or two that actually open your eyes to this matchup. Hopefully we're able to do that. But enjoy it, have fun, stay safe, and continue to show us love and support. And we'll keep bringing you that funk. Peace. All right, Mook.
All right.
On to the NBA show, the first NBA show.
Oh, all right, man. Sounds good.
I got some new guys, so I got to ease their nerves a little bit. So
who you got with you on the NBA?
I have Brandon Grubel, who is both coaches that coach with me on the Hooper staff. So Brandon Grubel and Isaiah Gransberry.
My son Jacoby, that's his math. He loves Grubel. He's like his absolute favorite teacher.
Jacoby Moore. Okay, so I got to bring that up. That'll be cool.
Yeah.
Right, cool. I'll tell him you said hello and Jacoby said hello.
Yeah.
Favorite teacher. I'll do that. All right, buddy. Man. Be good. I'll message you tomorrow when this game is going on. Don't worry.
Okay, sounds good, man. You take care.
All right. You too.
Have a good. All right, bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.